Thank you and welcome to 2024. It promises to be an exciting year from what has happened. Last year is gone. We need to focus on this very year. And what we do is important, affects how we live. So it's important that we begin to look at the trajectory of how 2024 would be. But we're starting on this note, having a guest who will be talking to us about the time is now. The year is now. It's here. The new year is here and it's now. So what we need to do, how we need to go about it. My name is Yakubu Chadi, and this is a guest I've brought in before, and regularly he will be here, but perhaps under a different program. The time is now agenda, which will unveil and unpackage and also track what the government is doing, getting feedback. For now, we'll be here before we start that program. Here we have, well, let the people hear your voice.
Thank you very much. Good evening, viewer. It's my pleasure to be here again.
Well, it's nice. This is the Director General Research Documentation Governor's Office, and he is loaded with information. Last year we had something, but let me start from this note. I'm sure before January 12th, the situation wouldn't have been, your voice wouldn't have been like this.
Thank you very much. Yeah, you are right that it's January 12th was a defining moment for the time is now administration on the plateau. That was the day that the Supreme Court delivered its landmark and epoch-making judgment, validating and reaffirming the election of Governor Caleb Manasseh Mutfwang as duly elected governor of Plateau State after all the litigations.
Yes.
So, of course, before that date, some cloud of, even though some of us were firm in our belief, but we needed that Supreme Court touch to put to rest the unnecessary and I dare say distracting litigation that for whatever the value, but in a way it has again brought the best out of the Supreme Court and indeed the Plateau people.
So how much was that distraction? Did it affect in any way
Yes.
the implementation of the agenda?
Yeah, obviously, because there were two levels of distraction. The first was the killings and the massacres, particularly the Christmas Eve massacre in Bokos, Barkinladi, and Mangu. At that level, it needed somebody, to be around. You couldn't be in the office while your people were in the hospital, while your people were organizing mass burials. About 250 people were killed. And as a governor, that is unsettling. As governor, you will not be a happy person. And remember, between April and when he was sworn in May 29th, over 300 Plateau people had been killed. So again, that is one level. And the other is the litigation. At one level, you will want to know, as governor, you will want to know what's happening in the courts. The tribunal in Jos declared him a winner, affirmed his victory, and but there was an appeal. And that appeal set aside the tribunal judgment and then sacked him. You wouldn't be normal, Tadi, if you were the one. And then he had to again appeal to the Supreme Court. In between all of these, there are movements. There are things he will ensure. And then you had to attend to some other needs of the administration. There are courtesy visits, there are condolence visits, there are, meetings at the federal level. You wouldn't be focused as it were. So definitely there were some distractions. But thank God, The deputy governor was on the ground. The secretary to government, tried to fill in the blank, and so on and so forth. So at the end of it all, we are so grateful. We are out of that, even though we understand there are some residual matters that have to be attended to, even in the courts and politically. But by and large, the time is now administration is more settled, is more focused and poised than it was before January 12th.
Would it be more settled? Can you call it more settled with the State Assembly and National Assembly members in the opposition?
Yeah.
How settled is that?
Yeah, settled in the sense that even if you are an adamant opposition person, you will know that you will certainly have your limits, and the burden is on you morally now to scale down the level of opposition, because you are wrong. You are wrong. You don't have a place, I mean, in the temple of justice to do what you are doing. So even if you had some motives, you should now know that it is open, and I dare say open danger. Yes, because you should restrain yourself from doing things that will be considered sabotage or subversive or negative for the Plateau interest. The elections were conducted. It is clear that there was a winner in that election, and that no one had any valid ground to petition or to contest that election.
Well, we'll bring lawyers to talk about these things, but
yes,
let us get to the nitty-gritty of our conversation.
Yes.
At the declaration of the March 18 election, and also the rapturous joy that evaporated across the state, and also this other declaration, what message does that send to the governor and the administration?
To use the words of His Excellency, he said he is usually reminded. He is reminded that this joy, that the celebration, the spontaneous celebration, this is the third time this governor is being celebrated. He said that it is an inspiration for him. It is an inspiration for him. He is being spurred to deliver, to do his best, to leave no stone unturned until Plateau is secured, until our people, have the dividends of their unity in terms of prosperity, in terms of welfare, in terms of incomes, in terms of employment, in terms of, all the dividends of democracy. He is being spurred, as it were. He is very conscious, and he's appreciative. If you went for the reception, all he will just say is, "Thank you, Plateau people. This is not my victory. This is our victory. It's victory for an entire state." He was appreciating Nigerians. He was appreciating the diaspora. He was appreciating the lordships at the Supreme Court. Everybody. So let me tell you, he is aware and conscious of the mood of Plateau people. Yes, we are celebrating you, but you remember, sir, that the same people that were praising Christ, Jesus Christ, at the triumphant entry, just a couple of days they started saying, "Crucify him." So he is aware and he is conscious that this celebration, for it to be sustained, for it to be meaningful, for it to have value, it has to translate into concrete deliverables. Something has to happen to the material condition of the people on the plateau.
Well, there's a time lapse between when these activities took place, the destruction, and now. A substantial amount of time. By May 29th, that will be 1 year exactly.
Correct.
And will there be a recalibration of programs and activities, given the fact that some time has been taken off in these distractions?
No, in terms of timelines, we have lost about 6 or 7 months. But in terms of focus, in terms of objectives, in terms of methodologies and strategies, we are still focused. We are still there. It just in terms of timelines of delivery. By the 6th or 7th month, in budgetary terms, you would have gone more than half of the year in terms of budget implementation. The middle term financial framework is implemented by annual budgets. So annually, you measure your movement, you measure your milestones by the performance of the budget. Now we have lost 7 months or so, but the MDAs by and large are forging ahead largely and guided by their annual budget, by their activities, by those things they schedule to achieve. So some contracts are being prepared, some awards to be very soon to be made. There are some things that visibly constructions will begin in earnest. This is January, and the rains start falling on the plateau any moment from May. So we have just 4 months clear to delve into serious road development, road construction, and some such projects.
So what is the strategy in in the road development, given the fact that one of the key driving forces of the administration is agriculture? Evacuation of foods
Yes.
and raw materials is always a Herculean task. Is that, would you expatiate on the fact that how can farmers benefit from this?
Yeah, you are right. There can be no or expansion without the integration of infrastructure such as roads, even if it's feeder roads. The approach under the time is now, is organic. And you have seen a lot of movements at the input level. You've seen a lot of fertilizers flying around. And the entire place requires some organization. The Ministry of Agriculture has started, to specialize local governments and areas according to what they are best suited for. Every local government is being earmarked for a particular crop, and the road sector is primary. A lot of our cash gettings and earnings comes from vegetables, and vegetables are perishable. So roads and movement of vegetables out of the farms to the market is critical, and government is aware of that. So it's trying to develop agriculture alongside the requisite infrastructure for this sector. And the approach, that this administration has is, first, let's safeguard, let's secure what we have. Let's restore the existing roads. Those that are in a state of disrepair, get them back. Then launch out, do your due process, whatever, and launch out on new ones only when the old ones have been maintained, as it were. That's why you see a lot of movement in the urban setting, and hopefully the approval has been given for the second phase of this in the metropolis. Then you launch out to other zones, like central and southern zones, and then you venture on the new designs and new roads, those that are on the budget. You should know them. it will come to that. And then there's a link with the federal Ministry of Works. There are some roads in Plateau that the government is pursuing because they have federal jurisdictions. So in an organic way, from feeder roads to trunk A under the federal government, all of these together are being pursued, in an organic manner involving agriculture.
So you've talked so much about
Yes.
infrastructural development, but the human resource, the human capital is key in driving these processes. What is the plan for human capital development?
In the state, under the time is now mantra, education is key. And if you've had His Excellency, he has always, wherever he had the opportunity, emphasized that education, skills acquisition, training and retraining is the bedrock of modern society. He has said that severally. And he believes in this, and he means what he is saying. The policy framework, one of the core drivers is the education of the Plateau students, Plateau pupils, from the lowest to the highest. Education is the engine room, as it were. Without education, employment will be miniature. Without education, health will be in jeopardy. Without education, mobilization and participation will be very limited. So, education is key to development.
I would like you to see, like what I've seen some states, Kano, for example,
Yes.
Katsina, Bauchi, they now train some of the human resource abroad in specialized areas, because also that has an advantage of giving them global employability.
Let me tell you, sir, Kano should be learning from Plateau. It's unfortunate that over the years we have lost space and we have lost speed on this. But actually, if you dig into the history, we were leading the so-called northern region in terms, and you could see that being rekindled in His Excellency's visit to the US. You are aware that 15 students from Plateau extraction are going to enjoy scholarship, in the US in engineering. You have heard that. So, and you have heard him also say, and I think the public should know, that the scholarship board, the Plateau State Scholarship Board, is being revived and is being strengthened so that the educational needs of training within and outside this country will come back on stream. His Excellency takes education very seriously.
Okay, that brings to mind one issue. I think the previous administration, since the restoration of democracy, government technical education, they've always mentioned Government Technical College Bukuru, and they will establish one in the central zone and one in the southern zone. That has remained a mirage, and it's on the table. If you get to that school, I do know, and on good authority, people used to come to technical, they ask for graduates of that institution. But it's a shadow of itself, and there's this plan to also drive the process of technical education from here. Yet, the incubator is sick.
That's very sad indeed. He had a beautiful plan for technical college, Bukuru. Unfortunately, I do not know, I can't speak for the last regime, but what I know now, there's a renewed interest, a very serious appetite for skills acquisition, technical education, trying to get the bulk of the youth to use either their head or their hand. It's not just using the head, but we should use the hand also, so that we can be generators of employment rather. So a lot of lip service has been served on several sectors, particularly in Plateau. But this time around, from the body language, as they say, of His Excellency, you know that It's no longer business as usual. There's not going to be any lip service anywhere. If it's going to work, the man will tell you. And if it's not going to work, he will tell you, well, we will schedule it. Let's see how it goes. Let's see whether we can accommodate it.
It's the framework of 4 years, and that is the first tenure.
Yes.
Everybody who is elected has 4 years.
Yes.
So whatever is going to be done is within that period. Significantly and symbolically, he's been talking about medical tourism.
Yes.
That he wants Plateau to be hub.
Very well.
At the early stages, he visited Plateau Specialist Hospital, and he also went agriculture to the ASTC.
Yes.
What has changed?
A lot. The mindset has changed. First and foremost, get the right people there. That is some level of change. Number two, be driven by a plan. That is true. We have a plan. We have a blueprint. We have, establish the linkages and then get the money, and do the right activities. So if you ask me what has changed in terms of these preparatory stages, a lot is going on. When you say what has changed in terms of income or in terms of produce, because this is production, it will require some gestation. It will require some time to mature. But sincerely speaking, everybody that has cared to observe, things are going to be done differently. The vigor is there, and the focus is there, and the supervision is also going to be there.
Well, people are high expectations. You spoke earlier about the reception, the outpour of joy at the different times something has happened and all of this. And these expectations must be matched. These expectations must be matched by the availability of resources and also getting a secured environment, a secure plateau, as he has always said. Looking at the resources, where are they going to come from, and how secure? What is the security architecture that has been designed or being designed to have? I remember recently the states in the North Central had visited, talking about common security. I also take a look at Amoteco.
Yes.
The Southwest is more peaceful. It's one of the most peaceful areas in Nigeria.
You're right.
But it's looked as tokenism, that states that have these problems are not coming together to say, okay, let's copy them and do something like that. So isolated things, so secure plateau and also resources.
Yeah, in terms of resources at the state level, what is happening at the Internal Revenue Service, IRS, you will be pleasantly surprised. The plateau is gradually being repositioned in terms of internal revenues. Gradually, we are getting there. People that owed money, for years are coming up to pay their debts, and then the entire place is being, re-engineered as it were to produce more. So the internally generated income is improving. Even if it's modestly, it is improving. And targets have been set for that place. And the present guy there is doing well. Or I should say has started well. And he should continue. In terms of federally statutory allocations.
Maybe you have to talk about security briefly. Because
okay, security, as the governor has always said, we need to develop some internal community level competence. We cannot continue as usual where people at sleep will be slaughtered like sheep, that it's avoidable. All of us have to be participants. We have to be active in the security architecture.
Okay, let me ask you one last question. How confident and certain are you that this administration, the time is now, will deliver on its agenda? Just one sentence.
I am very hopeful. God on our side. That are on ground are different.
Thank you very much. On that assuring note, we'll end this program. My guest has been Honorable Samuel Godongs, Director General Research and Documentation, Government House. I remain yours sincerely, Yakubu Tadi. In the coming days, different commissioners, different government officials will be coming in to tell you, to give you an account and information about what government is doing, and also get your feedback. So get ready to engage with government. Thank you for watching. See you next week.